With the current trailer we have for the next Suicide Squad film, one thing is for sure. When this movie comes out, we're in for a well and truly wild time. However, even if the film does turn out to be as off the wall in gore and action as many of us are hoping for, there are still a ton of moments from the comics that are simply too crazy to feature on the silver screen. The series doesn't push boundaries in the same way that The Boys or The Walking Dead does, but it does certainly provide its fair share of weirdness. Combining such a strange assortment of characters into one team inevitably creates a whole bunch of moments that simply couldn't happen outside of the wacky world of comics. With that in mind, I'm Wilf What Culture, and here are 10 insane Suicide Squad moments the sequel won't show you. 10 Exploding Robo Children. If there's one thing even R-rated superhero blockbusters have avoided, it's the death of kids, which makes for uncomfortable viewing every time. Even Deadpool couldn't bring himself to kill baby Hitler. So, in the comics, when the Suicide Squad encounter what seem like innocent children, but what turn out to be poppers, genetically engineered robots designed to explode, it probably isn't something you can expect to make it into the film. The concerning part is, while it is suggested that there may be robots or otherwise creatures that aren't actually children, they sure seem to act and look like children, which makes the scene more than a little messed up. As a general rule of thumb, it's better to explode adults rather than kids. 9. Harley fights the Joker's daughter. The Joker's daughter is one of the weirder new villains in DC history. Despite what the name suggests, we have no idea who this villain actually is, as she's claimed to be both the Joker and Two-Face's child, although not at the same time, because that's a topic best left to fanfiction. Needless to say though, because of her fixation with Mr. J, she doesn't get along well with his former lover Harley, made worse by Quinn's insistence in explaining how much the Clown Prince of Crime is a terrible person and a terrible role model. This leads to the pair getting into a borderline inevitable fight, which is as brutal as it is thoroughly entertaining. However, because the Joker's daughter is a sort of weird character to introduce and explain, she'll likely be sitting this one out. 8. The team almost kills Superman. The Suicide Squad fluctuate a lot in terms of power, but generally they're not comparable to the Justice League. Usually when the pair meet, it's a beatdown in favour of the heroes. However, there was one occasion where the squad managed something seemingly almost impossible: killing Superman. Killer Frost uses her ability to take all the heat out of something to basically freeze Superman half to death. Though he'd come back to normal thanks to Killer Frost undoing some of her damage, it was still a shocking moment for all who read it. However, since we're still at a point where the DCEU needs to keep establishing Superman as no pushover, it's probably wise to leave this fight out of the film for now. 7. Poison Ivy becomes a dictator. Perhaps the last thing you'd expect Poison Ivy to do is move to a country named Vlatava, briefly consider and become a dictator, then fob it off when it seemed too much like hard work. It's just not her typical MO, especially because this all goes down when Pamela is sent on a mission to supposedly rescue another Suicide Squad member, Count Vertigo, who she instead uses her powers on to keep under her control, in a decidedly creepy plotline. Poison Ivy is just too big a potential future DCEU villain to be used quite yet, and it's deeply unlikely the film would have been able to dedicate the time to this surreal plot that's explicitly stated to have been stolen from the 1970s musical Evita. 6. Waller vs. Obama. The 44th President of the USA, Barack Obama, is no stranger to appearing in the world of comics. However, his experience in the world of Detective Comics certainly was a little different to other features. This is because, when the man featured in Suicide Squad, he did so to have a massive argument with Amanda Waller. It's an interesting scene, but one that is more than a little impeded by the voice in the back of your head that keeps reminding you that one of these two comic characters is a real-world politician. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be epic for Obama to just rock up in Suicide Squad, but it's maybe a better idea to pass over his inclusion. 5. Harley reunites with the Joker's disembodied face. Anyone who thinks that Harley should be back with the Joker has likely missed out one very crucial detail. She's way more entertaining when the two have split up, and way more unhinged. Case in point, when Harley wants to have closure with her former puddin', having found his sawn-off face skin, she places it over the undeniably concerned Deadshot's face, and proceeds to have one of the most surreal conversations ever with him. Although this is a simply unforgettable Harley moment, it's unlikely to see the big screen quite yet, as the film universe's Joker still has a face, and seems unlikely to lose it in the course of the sequel's events. We can always hope, though. 4. The Suicide Squad befriend the banana splits. Historically, DC has pulled off some insane, wild crossovers almost unsettlingly well. Daffy Duck, anybody? However, the weirdest crossover still by far has to be that of the Suicide Squad matching wits with the Banana Splits, a band comprised of anthropomorphic animals. Now, you may perhaps remember this cast from the TV show that aired throughout the 60s, so to see them come back so many years later, not only in a totally different form of media, but also as an edgy, willing-to-kill band was a little unexpected, to say the least. The new Suicide Squad seems like it'll have some unexpected moments, but maybe not quite this unexpected. 3. Croc and Enchantress get it on. I mean, yeah, Croc and Enchantress. It happened. It happened a lot. A little crocodile on witch action for you. I have to know about it, and now you have to know about it too. Will it happen in the film? Jesus Christ, I hope not. 2. Zods self-inflicted lobotomy. When Zod joined the Suicide Squad, we all knew it wasn't going to be a permanent position. He's just a little too OP. Though Amanda Waller managed to control the General by placing a kryptonite bomb in his brain that would kill him if she detonated it, all that did was complicate matters. After all, she made it clear that it had been placed with the utmost care, and thus nothing short of a medical professional with hours of time and a careful hand and scalpel could counter it. Or, as it turned out, Zod, a mirror, and the useful ability of laser eyes. Proving that he'd stop at nothing to be a free man, Zod performed brain surgery on himself, using his laser vision to cut into his skull and brain in order to remove the bomb. Not only is it unlikely that Zod will be used in the film, although technically it's a prequel to the Man of Steel, so he is alive, it's unlikely that they'd show something quite as gross as a slow, brutal brain surgery in it. 1. Yoyo lives. Of all the various long-suffering members of the Suicide Squad, Yoyo probably ends up with the worst of it, despite appearing for way less issues than the vast majority of his teammates. This is because early into his appearance in the series, he is eaten whole by King Shark. Naturally, because in the real world people who are eaten stay dead, you'd assume that the same has happened to Yoyo, and this was just game over. In actual fact though, he is alive, which is much worse. The poor elastic-powered hero spends issue upon issue trapped inside King Shark, being steadily dissolved by his stomach acid. As you might imagine, when he finally gets free, he's not exactly best pleased. But goddamn if it doesn't make for one of the best twists in comic history. And there you have it, folks, 10 insane Suicide Squad moments the sequel will not show you. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.